begin this morning with word from Long Island's power company that it will not pursue green energy solutions to meet the future power needs of western Nassau County and the Far Rockaways. PSEG Long Island had hoped to turn to solutions like solar and wind power, as well as smart energy thermostats. But they say after months of study, the utility determined the cost would be too large in comparison to simply turning to traditional high-voltage underground power cables. The utility says it must keep ratepayers' bills in mind when making these tough choices, but environmentalists are not buying it. And joining us now to amplify that are Gordy Rocky of Renewable Energy Long Island and Matt Kearns from All Our Energy. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. So why is this the wrong move? And we can hear from both of you there.
Well, it's disappointing and surprising at the same time, Richard. The fact of the matter is we are in a day and age now where renewable energy has become cost-effective and in some cases cheaper than conventional energy. And certainly less risky than investing in conventional infrastructure.
Well, Matt, what about the cost that they're talking about? While they were somewhat comparable for western Nassau in Glenwood Landing, although a little bit higher, they say, for Far Rockaway, PSEG Long Island claims that it's 2 to 6 times as much to lay, than just laying cable. Do you buy these estimates?
Well, I think when you're talking cost, you have to think about the cost of not doing anything. We need to upgrade our grid to incorporate more renewable energy. Because we have climate change to deal with, and this is necessary to do that, to incorporate more renewables. We have a clean energy standard that the governor put forth that is we're going to get 50% of our renewable energy by 2030, and if we don't have the infrastructure in place to do that, then we're not going to meet our state goals.
Yeah, and that's only 14 years from now, but it sounds like you're accepting the idea that it does cost more for a green energy solution.
No, because if you're betting on fossil fuels for the next 20 years or so, you're signing a blank check. Nobody in the world knows what fossil fuels are going to cost between now and 20 years from now. When you build a wind farm or you use solar power, you know what the cost of fuel is going to be. Last time I checked, sunlight was free, and my solar panels are producing energy for the same price that it was 10 years ago when I installed them.
And while people still argue about it, at least the facts and the science of current situation in our world show that things are warming. The water's warming. We're having consequences for our environment. So you have to kind of factor in the potential cost from that, don't you?
Of course. Of course. And it's just short-sighted to just do business as usual. Technology is changing rapidly and has come to a point now where renewables and clean energy technologies are here today. It's just like cell phone technology. If you stick to the old landline business model, you're going to lose out. This is the wave of the future, and investing in renewables and smart energy systems, smart thermostats, smart microgrids makes sense.
Well, it's all laudable, and everybody agrees with that. You'll even have the oil companies talking about trying to move in the direction of being with green energy, but the cost does matter. When people get their bill, and PSEG Long Island, they say, hey, we're caught in the middle. When we do these things and they cost the ratepayer more, they're irate. I mean, look what happened a couple of years ago when they tried to do some of these solutions. I think it was called 2.0. And then when people saw what the bill was going to be, PSEG kind of had to abandon the plan.
Well, the thing is, when you do energy efficiency, for example, or reducing peak demand, you're actually not using energy, and not using a kilowatt hour is a lot cheaper than making it in a power plant. So that may be something that the utility companies don't like or don't understand, but for a customer, reducing their energy bills is always a welcome thing.
Well, when would this come into play? When they talk about future energy needs for, western Nassau and Far Rockaway, how soon would we see them pursuing the cable option instead?
Well, they're under a pretty tight deadline because this is actually a reliability requirement to bring that area into compliance, so they got to do that pretty quickly. But they have options, and they had options proposed. They could do smart energy solutions like demand response, reducing peak demand, energy efficiency, smart thermostats that can be remote controlled, renewable energy sources and things like that, and they've rejected them all in this case.
Well, Matt, what options do you have then? What will you pursue to try to persuade them to do otherwise?
Well, we'll do what we've been doing, is attend LIPA board meetings and educate folks. I think it's important to understand our energy model exists off of essentially it's Edison. What Edison created in 1882 was the first utility, where they burned coal and powered a grid here in Lower Manhattan on Pearl Street. That model really hasn't changed since 1882, the same year FDR was born, and he's been dead 70 years, and we still do business that way. It's time to upgrade. Offshore wind is happening right now on Block Island in Rhode Island. LIPA put the pause button on a proposal for that this summer. Hopefully we'll hear about that in September. But these things are happening now, and they have to happen now. We need to incorporate more renewables onto the grid, and we need to have that infrastructure in place.
Well, we'll talk about that, Gordian, because, you know, PSEG Long Island wanted to move in the green energy direction to meet the future energy needs on eastern Long Island's South Fork, but then the plan is somewhat in limbo after the state canceled the recent LIPA board meeting. Why was that done, and what is that all about?
Well, the LIPA board meeting was canceled, we were told, because the state wanted to complete its first offshore wind energy blueprint that's coming out now, any day now. And we expect a decision at the next LIPA board meeting on September 21st. The fact of the matter is that New York State has a very strong and ambitious renewable energy goal. 50% of our electricity will have to be met from renewable energy resources by the year 2030. In order to
have to be, but that's sort of like it's not actually written into law.
It is now a directive from the Public Service Commission to all the utilities.
So what happens if they don't reach that 50%?
They'll be in big trouble. And there are fines for that, and there are regulatory requirements that will make them do that. PSEG is, in this case, not choosing to follow that directive, but they will have to do it eventually.
Well, that's why I say law, you know, because directives, we've seen repeatedly, no matter what the issue is, that people can say, well, we can't meet that directive right now. We'll have to put it off another 5 or 10 years. And, you know, that could certainly happen there, couldn't it, Matt?
It could, but it shouldn't. I don't see why you would put forth a directive and not follow through with it. These things are not only important for the climate, but they're important for industry and business and innovation. And not having that infrastructure set up, in a way, stifles innovation.
And, you know, some people may have been surprised, but there's been some opposition to these wind power sightings out in the ocean, particularly from the fishing industry, which will say that
commercial fishing people are opposing it.
And also maritime people will say it blocks shipping lanes.
Yeah, but I mean, the vast majority of people support it. We've seen over 80% approval ratings for it in polls. People understand the idea that we got to get off this fossil fuel bandwagon and get on with our future here. And to the goal, you know, 50% by the year 2030, 50% renewables. It's not just a goal anymore. It is a state directive. There are a number of cities and towns across the country, across the world, that have set these goals. The town of East Hampton, where I live, actually, has a 100% renewable electricity goal by the year 2020. We'll see whether we'll achieve that on time, but with the offshore wind farm as proposed, we would get there.
Well, and we're still standing by our nuclear plants because they're critical, the state says they're critically needed in order to meet the power demand. Does that in any way compromise this 50% goal by 2030?
Well, I think it's unfortunate that renewables are included in the Clean Energy Standard. Clean energy, the idea of the Clean Energy Standard is to promote renewables, solar, wind, and whatever else may come along. So I think any incentives should be focused in that direction.
And then some people were surprised to see that with some of these ocean-based windmills or wind farms, that a lot of power is lost in bringing it onto land. How does that happen, and is that a problem?
No. I mean, anytime you transport power over longer distances, you lose some in that process. Whenever you go through a transformer or a substation, you lose power. So that's the case with conventional power as well as renewable power. That's why it's a good thing to have smaller and more decentralized power generation, like solar panels on people's homes and businesses. But we still need large-scale solar and large-scale wind, because otherwise we're not going to get to the renewable energy percentages that we really need to make a difference.
Well, and I see that you're mobilizing everybody, all your supporters, to try and get the message out here.
We sure do. Because we have a problem to solve, which is climate change and a lot of other things. But we have all the solutions, all the technologies available today. We can do this, and we will. Well,
we'll see what happens. The debate goes on. Even though it inches forward with some progress, there's always obstacles as well. Gordian Rocky from Renewable Energy Long Island and Matt Kearns for All Our Energy. Thanks for speaking with us today.
You're welcome.
And